Welcome back. This is G. You're watching Allastrology, and we're going to take a walk through the astrological chart with Mercury's journey. Mercury retrograde in Taurus 2023. Let's share the screen so we can get this up here, and we'll see. If you didn't see the part one, go check it out. It kind of tries to simplify what we're about to talk about here. We're going to look at the chart because remember what we learned in part one is that dates are, or I should say degrees are dates. And you could say it vice versa. Dates are degrees. Absolutely. So we've got our chart here. Hopefully we're all together and we can see each other. Let me see if I got my markup board ready. We'll see if we got we do. We got a number 8. Yay, yay, yay. Okay, so we're all good. Here's the date, folks. We're going to look at Mercury retrograde's journey, but we want to know, when does the Mercury shadow zone begin? Now, the part one explained the shadow zone stuff. It explained the journey in general, okay? And it gave you why that was important. So take a look. This chart says April 7th. All right. Here's Mercury down here. All right. Now, this is called the Mercury retrograde journey because we're also looking at when Mercury first dips into its shadow zone. So remember, folks, you remember when I was touching right here on the microphone and I said the first time that Mercury trucks along and touches this one spot here? I don't even know if you can see me right now, but either way, this is that point in time. This is Mercury first touching in at 5 degrees and 50 minutes. Now, how do I know 5 degrees and 50 minutes is important? Because I looked into the future, which is what astrology is. And it's not looking into a crystal ball. I'm using an ephemeris. You follow? If you don't know what an ephemeris is, Google it and you'll see what an ephemeris is. You could also go to astro.com where you will actually see a legitimate ephemeris and it will show you that, you can look at the planets 50 years ahead of time, 100 years ahead of time. And those are scientific calculations. And you can see where a planet is in the future. You follow? And it matches a date. So you're going to get a date with a degree. And we know that this Mercury, when it does begin its retrograde, because a retrograde is when Mercury's traveling through the sign of Taurus, and then it goes backwards. Yeah, we're just going to use red because it's so much easier to see. Okay, so we got Mercury here. I'm going to draw a line, and then Mercury's just going to travel. Look where Mercury travels to. It's really interesting. In that one video, I gave a very condensed, simplified, oversimplified, really, explanation of Mercury's trip. All right, but here you see where the red is. The red shows you Mercury's journey. It's going to move roughly 10 degrees. And when it gets to about 16 degrees, roughly 1537, it's going to go backwards. What I think is fascinating is, look, on this date, April 7th, look what's at that degree. Look what's at 1527. It's Juno. You see that? And you may not know, there's Juno right there. Looks like it's got a little, it's like a little stick figure with like a fro on the head there, right? You see that? That's Juno right there. And it's in Taurus at 1527. So Mercury on this day, as it dips into the 550 degrees of Taurus, it's not going to stop. It's going to keep going. And when it gets to 1537, it's going to stop. And then it's going to go backwards. And it's going to go backwards to 5 degrees and 50 minutes. And that's why we're calling this the shadow zone. But it's not over. It doesn't end there. It goes back to 550, and then it goes forward again. It goes back to 1537. Once Mercury has cleared the 537 after its second trip there, right? Because Mercury is basically doing a rerun. It's re-traveling over the areas. It's a redo. It's a do-over over a place, a location, a time. Like, it's redoing. It's going back and revisiting something it's already looked at or talked about, thought about, discussed. It's reviewing something it's already had its eyes on, something it's already thought about. And so all the time that it travels, that traveling it does. The first time it's there, it goes forward, then it goes backwards, then it goes forward again. All of that is the shadow zone. So once Mercury is past, we'll say 16 degrees. Okay, just to simplify this, we'll say once Mercury is past its 16 degrees, it then has cleared its shadow zone. Okay. Now, Mercury will clear its shadow zone. Mercury clears its shadow zone at the end of May. At the end of May. That's when it gets back to 16 degrees of Taurus. Okay. For those of you who want to know when Mercury literally begins its retrograde and what degree it begins its retrograde and what date that is, Mercury enters its shadow zone, like we have here, on April 7th. Then Mercury moves forward. It gets to 1537 on April 20th. It gets to 1537, stops, and goes backwards. That begins its retrograde. It goes backwards to 5 degrees and 50 minutes in the sign of Taurus. It stops, and then it goes forward again. Now, the date, so we're not confused here because there's multiple dates. When I say it goes back and it gets to 550 of Taurus and it stops and goes forward, that date is May 15th. So approximately 15 to 16 days later, it takes Mercury to get back to 1537. And it is like May 31st when Mercury has cleared its shadow zone. And remember, Mercury's talking and thinking. It's communications. It's trying to figure out what it values. It's trying to figure out its income, its money, its love, its creature comforts are really important with Mercury and Taurus. You're reevaluating things. You're having conversations. You might be looking at banks. You might be changing banks because Taurus rules banking, right? Everybody's been talking about money and what's going on, and that the tech sector and people with big money and their banks failed because they were being risky or whatever. I'm not an economist, so I don't know all of it, but I just try to keep myself a little educated about it. And so it was big money, basically, that was, taking risks, using money for startups and whatnot. And so that failed. Okay. So now the whole system, when it talks about banking, everyone was concerned, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Right. And there has been talk for a while about central bank digital dollar, a CBDC, central bank digital dollar. I think maybe I said the acronym wrong, but either way, you understand what I'm talking about. And I will tell you that Pluto in Aquarius is all about like worldwide systems, global systems is Pluto in Aquarius. And look, on this day, not that we're connecting any dots right here, we're just pointing things out right here, okay? I'm just pointing some things out. So Pluto on this day, it won't let me have a pen. Hold on. Let me see if it does it now. There we go. Pluto on this day is at 0 degrees and 13 minutes. All right. It's in Aquarius and it stays in Aquarius for a little bit more time. But Pluto's going to be doing work within the global systems, and a global monetary system is the concern for central banks, global banks, right? So something's happening. And so for those of you who aren't real familiar with astrology, this is a fixed sign. Aquarius energy is fixed. And why does that matter? It matters because fixed energy squares fixed energy, and Taurus energy is fixed. You see? So there is something definitely being transformed and changed. It's our values. It's the way we bank. It's the way we bank. But that change is first going to happen within the big systems, within the big banking systems. You see, because Pluto's going to be here. But while it's here, it does square Taurus energy. And Pluto energy does square, Pluto squares Scorpio. And so what do we see that's in Scorpio over here at 0 degrees? You see that little sign right there, that little glyph? This is Humea. This is important, actually. This is first time I'm realizing that this is here like this. This is Humea. Humea is about once something has supposedly been destroyed, like if there's been a fire, and then, like after there's been a fire, when you look at the field and then you see all these little bits of green popping up and it's like, oh my God, right? It's also speaks to transformation, and it can restore abundance. That's Humea. Look what it's in, Scorpio. Look at the degrees, 0, 0, 15. So even before this Mercury retrograde, or even before, I should say, Mercury hits, it's 550, which is Mercury touching in to its shadow zone on April 7th. This Humea in Scorpio, which is our shared values, was being squared by Pluto, which is also a very strong transformational power. Change is coming, right? So I hate to say that it's written in the stars, you know what I mean? But this is the cycle that we're in. This is the pattern. This is the pattern. These are the inclinations. Okay. So to recap, because there's a lot of other things we can dip into on this chart, and I don't want to do that here. I kind of want to just keep this as simple as possible, just for us looking. This is my Taurus coming out. I want to oversimplify this in a sense, because I think there's just so many other things we could focus on and get lost in. And I think it's enough, considering, global banking and the world banking system, central banks changing the way they operate and function digitally. Is it coming? It looks like it is. So I'll give you the details one more time. Mercury retrograde touches in where its shadow degrees are. And that's at 5 degrees and 50 minutes. And when it touches in there, it's April 7th. Then it goes forward and it gets to 1537. And this is April 20th. It gets to 1537. It begins retrograding. And where does it go back to? You know the answer. It goes back to 5 degrees and 50 minutes, right? So we're saying 6 degrees. It goes back to that degree, 550. And that is on May 15th. Okay. Then it goes forward again. At that point, on May 15th, the Mercury retrograde has ended, because it's not moving backwards anymore. That's retrograde, moving backwards. So it's moving forward now, but it's still in the shadow zone. It's still in the, I've got the information. I picked up what I forgot, but I still have to connect the dots. I still got to get it back to this other person, because that's the person that makes the decision. You may be the person that makes the decision, but you don't make that decision until 15 to 16 days later, May 31st, where you pretty much have enough information to make a better decision, a much better decision than you were going to make before, especially if you were going to be signing a contract or making a decision in a relationship, right? Because this is what this is about. It's our values, it's love, it's the earth, it's our creature comforts, it's our income, it's our money. It can be our marriage partner, it can be a business partner even. Our finances are really involved here. It's Venus ruled, right? This is Mercury retrograding in the sign of Taurus, Venus ruled, but this is really beneficial because Venus and Mercury get along. They're like siblings. They're like sisters, I'm calling them, right? And so they get along, they talk, they understand what's really important. It's grounded energy. It's grounded energy. It's practical. It doesn't want to be rash. It wants to be smart. It's going for quality. It wants something that's going to last. It's quality before quantity, right? This is Mercury's in Taurus, so it's methodical and it's thinking and it's looking at the financials and the details of those financials, right? So if you got any questions, comment below. I would love to help you out. The thing you want to look in your chart is where in your chart is, let's just simplify this, where in your chart is 6 and 16 degrees of Taurus energy. Because we know on these dates, Mercury is going through a retrograde at that time. All right. So if you don't know and you want to know, comment below. If you don't know and you want to know, if you don't know and you need to know, if you don't know and you're like, I'm so lost, I don't know a damn thing, but I'm interested in what you're talking about, I can get your chart for you. I can take a look. I can figure it out. And if you want, I can send your chart to you. And that's just the thing I do here at Allastrology, because I'm an astrology geek. All right. So you let me know, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye. Below the video, I'll have all the degrees for those of you who like to pay attention to the degrees in your chart. Again, if you don't know and you want to know, just comment below.